Cale on the main
All
room,
right.
and then
Yeah.
in the playroom we have Michelle Boyer. Michelle is going to do light language and channeling in room number one. Room number two is a psychic healing room for appointments and sessions, and then we have uh,
I do
Robbie
not know
coming
what
out.
just happened.
Robbie coming out here right now.
Yeah.
This went off
I'm
fucking for a
should
little
I
bit.
just go ahead and just jump on in or
I'm going to introduce you.
okay, go ahead.
Okay. And who is speaking in the background? Okay. Okay. So right now, thank you for coming here. Wait, who's that? Okay, Robbie, wrong person. Okay. Da 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 da. Okay. How do we do 7 o'clock? Okay. So Robbie is going to be talking today about how to gamify your day life, proactively fulfilling your daily needs. He says we have the ability to tap into a childlike sense of play and imagination. Fear of perfection can get in the way of that flow, and there's only a few fun processes can help you circumvent that. Robby is a clinical therapist, energy worker, NLP, EMDR practitioner, Hypno Timeline hypnotherapist, slam poet, holistic practitioner, who was raised by a group of light worker yogis. And he would like to help people reclaim their narrative to return to the cause side and the cause effect equation. He loves basking in classical guitar and Indian Italian food, and tonight he'll be playing for us at 9:30 on the main stage, as well as some of his poetry. He can be found at do you have a website?
I have a Psychology Today profile. My website should be up and running pretty soon. I have someone working on it as we speak.
Okay, so you can find him on facebook.com/Robby Cale, C-A-L-E, and Instagram, same thing, Robby.Cale. So, and you have the stage. Enjoy for 25
All
minutes.
right. So I have a lot to say. If I start sounding like an auctioneer, just bear with me. I want to just do what I can to get it in. I'm going to start talking about the some of the attachments that I sent you guys. So feel free to follow along. We would start with assessing your life balance. Now, a lot of people that come to pretty much anyone that goes to see a therapist is on the effect side of an equation. I've been through this, I went through that, and I'm left with X. And we want to get to the point where we're helping them get back to the cause side where we get to choose how we look at it. Now, if you think of a triangle, you think of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Each one impacts the other two. And when it comes to our behaviors, the truth is that's really the leaf of the plant. The roots are our core beliefs that really drive our behaviors. Now, yes, there is something to be said about cutting off a head of a weed, it grows back. But if you are seeing it from a sense of having fun with tinkering with, like, you are not your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, but it's a Rubik's Cube that you get to play with. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is how do we play with our life? So if you look at assessing your life balance, there's actually 6 areas of needs that come up. Now, first of all, let's keep in mind that who you are and your inherent value, your I am, the real essence of you, is independent of all of this. Your value is not based on how this plays out. We're right now just talking about patterns and how to tweak the patterns so maybe that our life is going in a trajectory that's serving our greatest good more effectively. So there's actually 6 areas of needs in your life. So we're talking about enhancing life. We're talking about more water, not less soda. And if you think of more water, we're thinking of the pie of the 6 areas of our life being more filled up. So if you see the 6 areas are physical, spiritual, social, financial, intellectual, and emotional. And the next page gives you examples of what those can look like. So the physical is the obvious ones. How well am I eating my vegetables? How much am I exercising? How much sleep am I getting? If I get sick, am I getting medicine? How much am I abusing prescription drugs? All that stuff. Financial is a little more nuanced. Financial would be like, what are my money decisions? Are those in alignment or out of alignment with my values? So if my value is I want to save up to buy a house for a family and I go eat out every night, there's an incongruity and a sense of inner dissonance where what's important to me is not aligned with my choices, right? So spending and saving habits, but also like, am I putting money aside for maybe when I don't have money? So I'm preparing for a possible eventuality of needing to have a savings. How responsible am I being about paying my bills? That kind of stuff. Intellectual, and that goes hand in hand with emotional, so how much am I learning new skills? How much am I allowing myself to show myself grace and show myself a sense of positive thought versus judgment, right? How much am I reading a new book? How much am I dusting off the old noggin, right? Allowing myself to engage in mental stimulating things. Emotional, am I judging myself? Am I beating myself up, or am I taking the learnings and letting the rest drift down the river, right? And, in my sense of allowing myself flexible versus fixed mindset, Am I allowing myself to laugh at myself, right? Social. Now we think of social, we think of other people, but that really is about connection, right? So you can also connect with yourself. When I play my guitar, I'm connecting with my emotions. When I journal, I'm connecting with my thoughts. How much am I allowing myself connection to people with I feel understand and validate and see me? Because if you could spend all day around other people, but if you're not on the same page with them, you're not actually having the social need met. You're just surrounding yourself with other human beings. Spiritual, how much am I allowing myself to just engage in things that give me a sense of meaning and purpose to my life? How much am I allowing myself to be in a state of congruency with what I hold true? And that's where you look at the values card attachment is a list of values. How much am my choices in alignment or not in alignment with my values? And so what's helpful is to use as much as possible what are called SMART goals, goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. So like physical health is great, but that's not really specific. Well, I'm drinking at least 3 glasses of water a day. That's a specific goal. And you even want to go one step further and say, what are the action steps that will allow me to drink that glass of water, right? So maybe I'm going to set reminders on my phone or wash my lucky mug or put fruit in a pitcher of water so I have yummy water to drink, right? And what you'd want to do is have a sheet of paper with the days of the week at the top and all the action steps that you want to see engaging in your life to see this pie get filled so that you're seeing yourself proactively filling the 6 areas of needs in your life. And, maybe even set rewards. So if I get 80% of it, bronze, I get this reward. At 90%, I get a bigger reward. And if I do all of it, I get this huge reward, so you have some stake in the game, but, we're hardwired to be more benefit versus punishment based. Having said that, if you have a stressor, you have how you feel about it, you have what you tell yourself, and that is going to really have a heavy impact on whether we react emotionally or we respond from a grounded place. So for us to really get to play with the thing that we call this Rubik's Cube of our life, we do need to enhance our awareness of how our relationship with our thoughts. And that's where we're going to jump real fast into mindful action plan, and we'll bring it back to the game at the end. So what I want you to do is open the one that says mindful action plan and also the one that says 9 questions for assessing your needs. We're going to put aside the 9 questions. We'll come back to it in a second. The center notion at the top of mindful action plan, I'm here now, accepting the way I feel, noticing my thoughts while doing what I care about, while doing what's in alignment with my values, while doing what I need to do to proactively fulfill my needs, right? Understanding that I am, start with the real who we are underneath is not the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. When you still the mind, Robby Cale washes away, and the real underneath me, that's your spirit, your essence, that's connected to all things, is able to notice. So you're looking at your thoughts and judgments and worries, all that mental chatter from the outside in, where you're noticing if you're being influenced by any unhelpful self-descriptions. Maybe we can reframe how we're wording it. Let go of any problematic thoughts if you're believing about yourself, because remember, those are just mental, they're just sounds, right? And what we're choosing how much we're going to assign value to them. And feelings the same way. Feelings feel very true. But if I feel unlovable, that does not make me unlovable. That just means that I'm buying into this signal that's going through my head like a river current floating by me. Noticing we're here now, setting your situational awareness on what you're doing in the here and now. What's happening here now, and rather than get wrapped up in events not in your present where we're worrying about the future or reliving the past, come back to right here, right now. Let go of those distractions. Focus on what's relevant. And to do that, we have to accept, and that's where we jump in the 9 pieces of the 9 questions. So how do we accept our emotions? Well, we first notice and explore what it is. Where in my body is it? Well, if I'm worried, maybe it's a square box with pointy edges, and it's in my chest, and it's brown. All right, great. So give it a name. Well, I'll call that my Mr. Worry box. Make a conscious choice to be willing to experiencing it just as it is, not trying to suppress it or ignore it or sweep it under the rug. It's not you, so we can look at it, right? And that might feel initially uncomfortable, but if you look at it from the outside in, from a place of curiosity, right? You're Jane Goodall, just with your notepad studying the gorillas, right? This is not you. It's just a thing that's happening, right? And by doing that, we are allowing ourselves to notice it, seeing what it changes, and, allow it to have space around you, right? Allow it to be this thing that is not you. Allow yourself a feeling of compassion, right? And it is easier to be compassionate to others than ourselves. So what says here is imagine a cute puppy with a hurt paw. I prefer to think of like yourself between 2 mirrors facing each other. So there's an infinite number of views in front of you in the future, infinite numbers of you behind you. And so like picturing doing that thing where you're proactively meeting your needs as a gift you get to give for all of the youth that are actually not you. They look like you and have the same social security number, but they're someone different, right? And you get to see them all turn around and tip their hat and feel like their life is enhanced because you gave them the gift of going and drinking a glass of water, or just showing yourself grace, right? And remembering that, one glass of water is physically one, but it also represents a pattern of me drinking more water. So there's also a snowball effect of successes building on more successes of self-support. Recognize how normal is. So we want to normalize if I hold a limiting belief about myself, or if I feel scared that I'm going to do something scary. Well, scary things might feel scary. We're human, and allowing yourself to normalize whatever it is that you think or feel allows yourself to more easily let it go, because that's what we're trying to do. But you don't want to let it go by like pushing against it, trying to get rid of it. It's just, I see it, I can acknowledge it, and now I'm going to let it flow through me, and now it's in my rear view. Open up your awareness around it. Like I said, give it space. And by doing that, it allows it to breathe and release. Make a commitment to continue to relax and allow the emotions presence as you continue today. Continue and allow it to just be shifting and changing. I think of the movie Beautiful Mind. When he stops taking his meds, near the end of the movie, his phantasms that he sees are still there, but they're across the street walking, looking at him, right? He's walking a journey along the road with these things, but by just leaning into what he needs to do in the present, he's disempowered and defanged that scary thing, that the way they had control over him. And he's like reclaiming the wheel by not feeding into giving them the power, where it's living in his head rent free, right? Drop any control agenda you might be tempted to have. And just by releasing that agenda, you can release its control over you. It's very backwards, but that's how you do it. So now that we thought about our relationship with our thoughts, we come back to what is a scavenger hunt that I can set up to fulfill my needs, right? And as it says here, look at, where is it? Values. So again, you can also look at what are specific values that are important to me, and then what are action steps that are specific in my day, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time sensitive. So like if I'm, seeking compassion, maybe an action step is going and asking someone for a hug, right? Like what is a thing that I can check off a box? And maybe even keep that sheet of paper with you. And yes, I got to go through the jumping the hoops of my day and being an adult, but I get to enjoy the fun of having a scavenger hunt that feels good and empowering every time I pull it out and write the check on that box of the thing that I knew I was setting out to do for the day. And remember too, though, if you fall short, we don't want to beat ourselves up. Some days we may have low bandwidth, and that's okay too. We don't want to scratch it up and quit playing. We just want to say, all right, maybe I can pick up the controller and keep it playing again tomorrow. So come at it with a fixed versus flexible mindset. Yes, when we're playing darts is the metaphor, you throw it, you do your best to aim, but if you don't get a bullseye, we don't want to have our okayness dictated by whether or not we knock it out of the park or not. If we miss, it's like, all right, well, we can pick up the darts and keep playing. And just by keep playing, you're going to be better and better at showing up for yourself and fulfilling your needs. How are we doing on time, Sheri? Do I have time for a little bit more? Or are we hitting the 30? I'm being like an auctioneer and not your house. All right.
You're only at 7:15.
Oh my gosh. Okay, great. Awesome.
Please keep track of your time, sweetie.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it was going to take way longer. That's hilarious. And again, forgive me for talking super fast. I just wanted to get it all in.
Breathe so we can absorb it, okay?
Yeah.
I'm hyperventilating.
I'm so sorry. I was just really excited to talk today, so forgive me. So feeding into what we'll be doing in the Playhouse, though, there is also an element of getting to art, turn our struggles into art. And that's part of the play that I was going to talk about today. So what I'd have you do is the following. Think about something that you see as a limiting belief, part of the mental stuff that you notice in your mindful action plan work, or looking at the 9, scanning your body. What am I feeling? What are the thoughts tied to that feeling? And how do I want to explore that? So there's a couple pieces to explore it. You can open the one that says digging belief questions. You have 31 questions you can ask in any rhyme or reason. The ones I often find myself coming back to are what's the worst part about that? And then there's at the end, the last I separated, there's also a concept called chunking. Chunking up or chunking down is a funnel of specificity. So if you think of the word car, more specific would be a Toyota Camry, a blue Toyota Camry, a 1984 blue Toyota Camry with a dented hood, right? More specific. And the question to ask that is, what is this an example of? To go more vague, you're thinking of a car would be transportation, movement, purpose, existence. And the question you ask there is for what purpose? So sometimes just looking in more the microcosm or looking big picture can help you reframe and see something in a different light. You can also go left and right. So what is another example of this is a good question. So car could be train, submarine, helicopter, or a Camry, a Toyota, it could be Ford, Ferrari, Dodge, right? And so what I'd say is this, here's the writing process I encourage you to do. So you take a pen and paper, and let's say the first step is flow, where you just don't let the pen stop moving. You set a timer and just let it go. You can do that extraneously, or what I like to do is dig on something. So maybe my belief is there's not enough, right? Well, what's the worst part about not having enough, right? Well, then I'm not going to be regulated. Or what's the worst part of having enough? That's another one too, Well, if I have enough, well, then maybe I am not going to pray enough. Well, what's the worst part about that? Well, if I don't pray enough, maybe God will reject me. Oh, okay. So if you have enough, God's going to reject you. I could see how that would limit your ability to lead into making more money, right? And so using these questions as a sense of tinkering with something, but a sense of I'm safe while playing a game with my thoughts and feelings. I'm not like having to relive stuff and open old traumas, right? It's the same notion of this concept called timeline therapy, where you float up above your timeline. And if you want to take the learnings from a negative experience, just do it watching it from the outside in, where you're safely above it. And if it feels safe, just go even higher up above it until maybe your whole timeline's an inch wide, right? So that you don't have to relive it looking through your own eyes to gain the understandings from it. So anyways, the process is flow, where you write, and the same way you explain meditating to someone, like if you want to flow on a specific topic, especially if it's difficult or uncomfortable, expect that your mind's going to wander off and talk about the weather or some unrelated movie. And if that happens, without judgment, just reel yourself back to writing about the topic you chose to flow on. So you flow. When the timer hits 0, the next step is called selection. You scan what you wrote and you circle any phrase, any word, or any sentence that packs heat, that resonates, that has some oomph to it, that really holds truth and water and weight to it. So you have those circle pieces. Then you scan everything you wrote again, and you ask yourself, making it journalistic is the next step. What are the whys? What are the takeaways? If this was a research paper, what could a thesis of this paper be, right? If someone read this and walked away, what would they be thinking or feeling at their core? So at the end, you have the flow with the circled pieces that really resonate. You got your one or your several journalistic ideas. And then lastly, you synthesize. This is really how you make a slam poem, but the truth is creating really good written art is right hand in hand with releasing core stuff that maybe is at the bottom of the Jenga pile of beliefs. That's another thing to know is beliefs are like Jenga stacks. So we really want to, it's why it's called digging, is we want to get down to the bottom levels. So if you clear a bottom belief, all the ones that are predicated it will also wash away and fall over and be off the table as issues or no longer issues. So like I was saying, lastly is you take the circled pieces, you take your journalistic ideas and you synthesize. You take the circled pieces that pack heat and use them as Lego blocks to say something about, to articulate, to three-dimensionally show rather than tell any of your journalistic ideas. So I worked with a teenager. When we got to the bottom of it, he was holding on to I'm not enough. And he went back, and so that's another thing. When you think of a core thing, ask yourself, when do you first remember feeling that way or thinking that? And he remembers striking out in Little League. And he remembered the tension of the thickness of the air and the silence on the bus ride home that symbolized to him rejection and like the fact that no one came up and pat him on the back and consoled him that it was going to be okay. And so he was able to release I'm not enough by really pointing his finger to and identifying the flavor of what it felt like in that thick silence on the bus ride. And so he showed it by synthesizing I'm not enough with Little League and my bus ride experience home. So I assume, Sheri, we're also allowing some of this time to be for Q&A, right? If anyone had questions? Or am I supposed to explain until the end of the 30?
You also have a private room afterwards for Q&A, but you can allow it to open up the stage during your talk time on the main stage. Okay.
Again, thank you all for bearing with me being an auctioneer. I do have a few more minutes, and I know I threw a lot out really fast, so I'm sure that if there's any questions, this would be a good moment to throw those out. Did this resonate with everyone? Were there pieces of this that didn't really jive with some people?
Sorry, I came in partway through, Joan Francis speaking, and I like what I hear. because I tend to work very similar. The more you get to the bottom, and is really what you're saying, and the more you dig in and the more you get to the bottom of the problem or the root cause. I always call it the root cause. So I think you're running on the same principle. And I think that is what, or for me, that's the best therapy. You know, when you look at I'm on screen now, the best therapy, you know, is to cut away all the other layers if you can get to the bottom layer first. Because I hear you talking about, you know, the stacking of the sticks and things like that. Pull away the bottom one and everything else falls down, you know, from there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I like what I hear, you know.
And I love it. And the way that we clear that belief, the question we ask ourselves from a safe place is, what is the learning from this that's positive for myself moving forward in my life? And it, you know, and if we feel really hurt and victimized, it might not be easy initially to identify that. Maybe the learning is simple as I'm a survivor. I'm resilient, right?
Yeah.
And that is an understanding. It doesn't have to be an aha, eureka moment thing. It can just be a recognition of your own inner strengths for having walked through something difficult.
I call it the V versus V. V versus V, victim versus victor. So what do you want to be? Do you want to be the victim or do you want to be the victor? It still sits with a V, and V is the symbol for victory, you know.
Totally.
Also the power of a female. Not meaning anything bad with that, but you know, it's that moment. And I love the way that you just simplified everything all the way through as well. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, totally. And along with this, everyone, what if you have feelings that, like struggling with anxiety, for example, that's where you want to do dialectical behavioral therapy stuff. So it's grounding skills, focusing on your senses, picturing your feet rooted center of the earth, visualizing the ink released in your fingertips on the exhale, stuff that gets you back in your body, right? These are focusing on what are all the senses you can have. And when it comes to your thoughts, the three things you can do are challenge, reframe, and refocus. So challenge it is like, if I say, well, no one ever likes me, no one ever does anything nice to me, I'd be like, really? There's never been a single instance where one person did something mildly nice to you? Well, okay, sometimes, right? Reframe is, can I repackage it in a different set of wording? So I'm not enough because I'm not perfect, and be, all right, I may not be perfect, but parts of me are excellent, right? And refocus.
Well, the power of audio, isn't it? Sorry, I've got a little delay going on. I think that's what's happening here. So it's the power of words, isn't it? It's a language. We either speak in the language of lack or we speak in the language of empowerment. Right. So we're either inward power or we're giving our power away to somebody else. And that's, right. I think one of the things is that's important for everybody to understand very simply. You know, are you in power or are you out of power? You know, so that, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring this up, because there's this anecdote about how two brothers with a dad who's an alcoholic, and the one brother who's the son, right? The two sons, one son never drinks. And we go, why do you never drink? He says, well, you know, my dad's an alcoholic. And the other, why do you always drink? Well, my dad's an alcoholic. And I would say initially on first pass, you'd be like, oh, like, I want to be the son that says I don't drink because of it. But the truth is, both of them are dictating their perspective based on this external thing, versus I'm choosing for myself not to drink, right? I saw this, I don't want it for myself, but it's still a thing for me and my own self and my own determination. It's the same way there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning about a guy that survived being in the Holocaust in Auschwitz. And, you know, his explanation is that he was traumatized. Of course, he's in a very traumatic experience that was unsafe, but it's internal versus external locus of control. Am I creating my okayness being dictated by myself alone, where I'm creating a safe space within me independent of all this? Or is my okayness dictated by the external? And if it's the external, we're always going to be setting ourselves up for failure, because we're always going to find a curveball that hits us, that knocks us over and blows us away, because we're not rooted and grounded in the storm.
Exactly. There's an old saying, you know, when life throws me lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah.
The power of lemons is that it's sour, it's, you know, it's that bitterness. But if you make lemonade, it's lovely, it's sweet, it's refreshing, it's fulfilling. So we're always going to have that perspective, aren't we? You know, it's that moment of we're either in the lack, or we're in the empowerment. And I love the way that you took it through the 6 stages. I believe it was 6 stages that you talked about. And I love that. I love that, the way that you just broke it down and simplified. You know, I know that you were racing through it.
For some reason I thought this was going to take 45 minutes to do.
Simplified.
So yeah.
Exactly.
And
I know.
And I think also the reason we talk about writing, you know, you may not it helps to vomit the stuff on the page, but the truth is, you know, when we speak about why did something happen to me, why did bad things happen to good people, all that stuff, right? We also don't know how, when we're going to be positioned to be a teacher to help pull the next person up that's in the same boat, right? So if I write something that articulates my experience of the tension on the bus ride home, there's going to be someone else with a similar experience that could release their stuff because of my supporting them through it with my articulating my own experience. And letting that be enough can be a little bit easier to give a meaning to something that maybe initially felt like, what was the point of this nonsense?
Yeah, it's about the power of the spoken word, because when you express, someone else is listening, and you may not think they're listening. They are. And then when that resonates with them, it's exactly what you've just said. When that resonates with them, it hits them where? It hits them in the heart. So when it hits them in the heart, they feel. And the minute a person feels, there's got to be an expression. So you're either expressing outward or you're expressing inward. And when you express outward, you're either going to react or you're going to look at the response and pause for a moment and say, am I going to be a victim here again? Or do I take pride in myself? Do I actually love myself enough to say, no, that's not going to happen? And there's a moment of expression. And it's when a person doesn't speak. So you're talking about the silent person there. And your story being written or spoken is going to give them the power within them to make that the leap to move into the power of release. So if they don't speak up, they still speak, but they speak internally. And that's the danger, because they can never really be the victor, because they're always going to be the internal victim, because they don't speak up, they don't express. Sorry, I jumped in to say I loved it.
Yeah. I'll speak slower next time, guys. Thank you for bearing with me, but I appreciate you piping in. Lovely.
Okay, I'm going to leave you because I have to go and do
I'm going to jump, I believe, in the playroom now.
Yep.
And I'll talk to you guys later. Feel free to follow me along.
Okay. Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Robby. That was good.
Oof. Yeah, sorry. I'll slow down. Next time. I haven't got spooked for a crowd in a while, so I guess I was just a little excited, but
it's okay. It just comes rambling out of you. You'll learn, just like, I think, it's all recorded. It's all, actually, we have a closed caption and transcribed, so you can see every pause that you might take, and the feedback that anybody puts in the chats, which is awesome. Oh, I didn't realize that I'm not on camera. I'm sorry. Just trying to navigate some Airbnb bookings tomorrow. I got some confusion going on. I got like 4 people trying to book with me tomorrow, and it's not renting a room. And I'll teach you guys how you can make money on Airbnb without renting a room. Okay, so thank you for being here and sharing all your wisdom, and we're going to take this to the next level by following him into the playroom in room number 1. He wants you to get your pen and paper ready. He did put in the chat a whole bunch of documents. I don't think you guys even realize what he shared with you. Was that for everyone to see, or was that for your workshop? Vicky, we're not done with him.
What happened?
He left the room. He didn't do his door prize.
Oh.
Robby,
Let me bring him back.
Bring Robby
he moves
back.
to playroom.
Right. So everybody put in the chat a number from 0 to 100. And if you would like to win a session with Robby, He just bumped out into the playroom. He's ready to get going. Robbie, we forgot to do your door prize.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Yeah, hold on. Slow down. Okay, so have your piece of paper ready. Everybody put in the chat a number from 0 to 100 to win a session with him. And then you can follow him to the playroom to continue this conversation. And he's going to help you go to the next level with writing. And Joan Francis, who joined us on stage, is going to be following at 8 o'clock in the playroom about waking your psychic ability. She's Joan Francis Boyle from Scotland, known as our Scottish seer. So Robbie's going to take you into ways on how to tap into your infinite creative flow. Have your paper ready, and he'll share in the chat some documents you can print off as well. Okay, so let me check the messages. Everybody put a number in the chat to win a session with Robbie. What are you offering? What is your offer?
So I do remote energy work, and I follow it. It's a bundled package. I guide someone verbally through a progressive muscle relaxation exercise. There's some guided visualizations I walk people through, and then that gets them to a calm, relaxed place. And then from there, I do remote energy work with them. So I hold ends of 2 wires and help unkink the hoses energetically in your body.
Okay. Okay, so anybody in the room who is not a practitioner could put in a number in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna have to work something out privately. I know, And coming up next in the room here, we have Robin Wolf, International Evidential Psychic Medium, who's going to speak about the continuity of life through evidential mediumship. And then at 9:30, she's going to be in the playroom. If you guys are interested in any private sessions, go to room number 2 and see who's available, and they'll take you based on availability. Whoever's there, you can have your 5-minute session or a private read. And you can pay them privately for a reduced show price. Okay, so as we put, we're going to do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in the chat. If anybody who wants to have a session with Robbie, and if anybody who's listening on Facebook or YouTube, you need to be here to make it happen. Okay, where's the numbers? Let me look, scroll down. What's your number, Robbie?
Oh, it's 31.
31. Any numbers in there? Let me refresh. I see so many words right now and so many bios. Can anybody see any numbers?
There's one from Joan Francis for the number 2.
Well, maybe you and Joan.
There's only one for me.
Well, then you and Joan need to talk then. So let's give it to Joan, and there's a reason that you guys could probably work together. It must be late. I don't know what's going on. All right. So Joan Francis, congratulations. And then follow Robbie. And follow Robbie right now to room number 1 to continue this experience. Get your pieces of paper ready, and he's going to have some documents for you to print off or follow along.